Hello and welcome to The Week That Was, a weekly program on which we review the headlines of the week. It's a time where you can sit back and catch up with the news that has gone by. A week is a long time in politics, and so it was this week when on 11th of March the results were declared on the newspapers. Call it an unprecedented elections or whatever you may, but very often it was talked that this election would change a lot of things. Did it change these things? So we have with us the group editor of Herald publication, Mr. Sujay Gupta. Welcome to The Week That Was.
Thank you.
So we begin with this declaration of the results of the elections, where the BJP came with 20 seats, the Congress had 11. Was it a deja vu, or was that something very unique about this election as people had anticipated?
Well, I won't say deja vu, because it was certainly not what happened in 2017, though the BJP ultimately formed the government, but the Congress was by far the single largest party in 2017. The BJP had got 13 seats with Manohar Parrikar completely supervising the elections, let us not forget. So this time, whatever the factors are, and we can get into those factors or not, but the fact remains that the official result is that the BJP got 20 seats. You can talk about vote divisions, vote splits, the RG factor and what have you. Yeah. And I'm not saying they are trivial factors. They are all important factors to take into account. Yeah. But fundamentally, the fundamental bottom line is that the BJP got 20 seats on its own, which is, I would say, double of what they should have got, or double of what even these results would have been if certain extraneous circumstances had not come into play. Yeah. So that's the way it stands. So I think it was very different from 2017. But the irony is that the end result will turn out to be the same, and BJP will get one more term in Goa right now.
Now, how big was this news that 10 BJP MLAs would go home if not for the Revolutionary Guard?
See, well, the news itself is based on empirical evidence and data, and one has gone through almost every seat and looked at this, and we explained that in our article, yeah. From which you are quoting right now. Yeah. So if you look at almost all these seats, in many of these seats the RG has ended up getting either the second position or third position, but picking up almost 9 to 10% vote share across. Their vote share across Goa, out of the, I think, 36 seats that they contested, is roughly around say 9.5%, almost, or a little more than that. Okay. So a 10% vote share in their first shot at elections is a pretty impressive figure. However, I'm not getting into how they got it. A lot of people say that it's due to this grand revolution that they have done. We are of the more skeptical view, and which is an important view also, is that they sold that whole Pogo bill dream. Yeah. And fundamentally, we have proven that there are flaws in the Pogo bill, because the bill was built to be built, based on an absolute misnomer and an illegal kind of a hope that the definition of Goans would also include people who are no longer citizens of India. Yeah. Irrespective of whether you are an Indian citizen or a Portuguese citizen or a British citizen, you would be considered Goan. Yeah. For a discussion and in spirit, that's fine, because at the end of the day, your Goan blood doesn't go anywhere. In spirit, it's okay, but when you're bringing it into law and saying that this is a class of people who will be getting government benefits and loans and what have you, subsidies, so when these, and jobs, yeah. When this is what you are giving from the state exchequer, then your definition of who you are calling Goan needs to be honest.
That's a direct conflict with the constitution.
Direct conflict. So again, we just digress a little bit, but the issue is, yes, the RG got a lot of votes, but it's very important to tell the readers why they got it also. It was not entirely due to their own efforts and overwhelming support. Yeah, support happened because of the people's mistaken belief that the Pogo bill would kind of gives them so many benefits, right. Not realizing that would give benefits to people sitting outside the country and not necessarily being Indian citizens.
Okay. So then we move on to the news of 16 March in Herald. The MLAs took oath on the 15th of March, but as it has happened in the previous years, there was already a government in place when the MLAs would take charge, and they would know who are the ministers.
That's correct.
Who would be the chief
That's
minister.
correct.
But this time this is not the case.
This is very, very unprecedented. One would have thought that the BJP would declare the party leader and have a swearing in the same day. Now, if you look at the March 10th is the time when the results were declared, and today we are on 18th of March. 8 days have passed. It's a pretty long time. And we think we'll have a government by Monday or Tuesday, but it's been, and the delay has been absolutely inordinate and totally surprising. The BJP can turn around and say that they are doing it because they are waiting for time. Maybe they say it's an inauspicious period. Whatever be the case, but any kind of uncertainty is not good. There is no doubt that the BJP has a clear majority and will form the government. There's, that is pretty much settled.
Yeah.
But obviously they may have been factors at hand which has led to the delay. Some people say that the delay is due to the fact that they were still trying to sort out a few things regarding whose support they would take. There was a whole chief ministerial issue also, but I think after the visit of Pramod Sawant and Sadanand Shet Tanawade and others to Delhi and the Prime Minister's tweet, the signals are very clear as to who the next chief minister is going to be. But the point is that whatever be the case, it should be done sooner than later, because the state needs to function. The budget, do remember, either the full budget or the vote on account needs to be passed, because the constitutional requirement of the vote on account is very important, because otherwise the state will have to appropriate a mandate to get funds and spend funds.
Yeah.
So that authorization is important. So there are so many other, the government has to start functioning. The bureaucracy is in a complete limbo right now. So all these things need to start.
Yeah. But I will just take you back. Would you like to comment our viewers to know the kind of MLAs who will be sitting in these benches, given that there are 19 new faces, for instance. There are 4 people who have come back who were there in the previous assembly, and the rest, of course.
Yeah, it's a mix of the old and new. There are some people who just never ever fade away, and like the voluminous ocean and its tides, they are there endlessly. They literally become part of Goa's, not Goa's furniture, but part of Goa's nature, and I would say nature that can never be tapped. But again, changes happen. You see, you have a Ravi Nayak who's popped back, albeit by winning by less than 100 votes. Then you have Subhash Shirodkar, who's another old-timer veteran.
Yeah.
Then you have Ramesh Tavadkar, if I'm not mistaken. He's back again, back in action after a hiatus for a little while.
Ganesh Gaonkar,
Subhash Faldesai, Alex Sequeira. These are all beloved grandfather politicians, but who are well into the their 70s, between early and late 70s, if not more. But so these people have come back. Now the issue is, at the end of the day, they have won and they have come. You can't grudge somebody who's gone to the people and won and come. Yeah. They felt that they were fit enough to rule. They've got that mandate. And so 10 days before elections, we can't cast aspersions on either their motives or whatever, because they've just won. Yeah. So in a democracy, that that basic decency is that we should let them come and function. But yeah, for the viewers, we need to know that while on one hand you have this, on the other hand you have very, very new faces. You have Viresh Porkar of RG, who's in his early 20s, I think, or late 20s maybe, who's just come in. Then first timer, absolutely, a greenhorn who's entered. Then you have
Wenzy
Viegas, Cruz Silva. Though this is Cruz's, I think, second attempt, but he's come to the assembly for the first time. Advocate Carlos Ferreira, though he's a household name, has been a former Advocate General, but first entry into the assembly, as it were. Yeah. It's good that people from these kind of professions are entering. And there are so many. I think Jeet Arolkar from Mandre. Yeah. He's there. So he the other MGP seat. Yeah. He is there. So a lot of young blood has come in. So let's see how this shapes up. The Congress also, I think, who are any other young Congress people who've come in? No, they've all lost narrowly, I think. But yeah, yes, the giant killer of Kepe, Elton da Costa. He again is a newcomer. So you see the sprinkling. Yuri Alemão is also first time.
No, he has contested.
But he's not come to the assembly ever.
No, he has not.
First time assembly. So that's how it goes.
Yeah.
We have, of course, lest we forget, we have two out of the three. There are two women MLAs who are making their debut. Both wives of politicians. One is Delilah Lobo and the other being Divya Rani.
Yeah.
So both, albeit they'll be powerful politicians because of their husbands, but you can't deny the fact that they've also won and they're in the house in their own right. So so that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. So moving on with our Herald stories, on 12th of March there was a shocking news about these Pisurle farmers who were locked up just because they were protesting for their rights. They were demanding that the mining transportation of ore be carried out in a legal manner. And then you have this police jeep just coming up to the site, picking them up, throwing them into the lockup and assaulting Hanuman Parab. And we have evidence that Hanuman Parab was severely assaulted and the cries of Hanuman Parab could be heard. Now what has happened is that although the medical checkup was done, the medical report is missing. There is an inquiry which has been ordered, but so far things are not looking very well.
Yes. Herald has of course been very consistent on this story. Our ground reportage has been good. Our camera colleagues and our Clinton and Devendra and all, they've gone and worked on this story a lot, and that's how we've been able to get it. Yes, as you very clearly mentioned what the story was, and I agree. I can only reiterate what you just said, that this is what happened. Just to bring our viewers up to speed, Hanuman Parab is a farmer leader from Pisurle. He's from the Shetkari Sangh there, and the farmers have been protesting on a very simple issue. It is just that now that is a mining area, and mining trucks move carrying a lot of mud. Lot of mining transportation is going on now of dumps that are already there. There is not fresh ore, but ore already dumped. And the sad part is that a lot of the dumped ore has fallen on these on the fields of the farmers, because see, the farms are adjoining the mining areas, and one must also tell our readers that when mining was stopped, a lot of the land again rejuvenated itself, and a lot of those areas became fertile again and started growing crops. So when the mining trucks were passing by, a lot of the mining mud was getting dumped into these fields, and you can well imagine when that happens, the fields obviously have this whole potential of getting destroyed, because when you have mining mud falling on your field, and do remember the harvesting season is going to maybe all over Goa, you see paddy is now ripening, almost in full bloom, getting ready to be harvested. The season is coming. So if that is the case, then when you have mud and your fields get destroyed, you do understand that the whole crop has the potential of getting destroyed, and a destroyed crop means their livelihoods get affected, their lives get affected. It's very painful for anybody. It is like telling an urban person who will not understand anything of this sort, maybe, to say that after you have kind of developed a business and you're ready with your product, your business gets completely destroyed. Your stuff that you manufactured gets broken, and you have no product to sell. Imagine your state. So they will understand when you explain to them in this kind of a manner. Okay. But the shocking part that we have highlighted is worse than that. Everybody has a right to protest. It's part of a democratic right. And they were only exercising their fundamental rights given to them under the Constitution. When Hanuman Parab, the farmer leader, and others were protesting, and it has happened before, they were treated with a degree of high-handedness which is despicable and absolutely uncalled for. You cannot have Goa as a state where khaki terror is displayed.
And this happens when there is no government in office. So
this happened when government is not in office. There's a caretaker government, but this happened when there's no government in office. Maybe advantage was taken of that, but you still have political leaders exercising influence in that area. Number one, you still have a chief minister, and he's called the caretaker chief minister. So a caretaker chief minister has to take care. Okay, but I'm sure Pramod Sawant was busy with his elections and the whole government formation, so enough time may not have been devoted to this. One can understand that. But now one hopes that the new government that comes into place will understand this completely, understand that humanity is paramount. You cannot You cannot beat up a common citizen and a protester for exercising his democratic right inside a police PI's room.
Yeah.
The reports that we have is that he was picked up, taken to the PI's room, and the DYSP and the PI both bashed him up. I'm only saying that this is the version of Hanuman Parab corroborated by a few others. This is still under investigation, so we are not passing any judgment.
Yeah.
But we are only highlighting the allegation, which is a serious allegation, which is yet to be refuted with a degree of confidence by which we can say, no, there are two sides to the story and there's a doubt. Right now, this is the overwhelming version.
Yeah.
And this has not been nullified at all by the police or the government.
Yeah.
So we will at this point of time, we have to kind of veer on the side of the complainant rather than the defense. And also see what happens is these police officers are still functioning. Not even a transfer. What ideally should have been done was to suspend them till the pendency of the inquiry.
At least transfer them.
Yeah, but when you suspend them, you also realize the person has got suspended, his pay and other things are getting cut. So the onus is on you to complete the inquiry properly. So either way, justice is done.
Yeah.
I'm not saying justice has to be done only for Hanuman Parab. Justice has to be done for Sagar Ekoskar and the PI as well, because they also should not be wrongly charged.
Yeah.
But looking at the bruises on Hanuman Parab's face and hands and the complaint that he's made, it is very serious and it has to be investigated. If what he's saying is right, then the cops have to be punished. If for some reason he's not speaking the truth, then injustice should not be done to the police also.
Okay.
Let's put it this way.
Okay. So the next story that we need to review is the lifetime cabinet status which was given to Pratap Singh Rane, and it was talked about and debated a lot.
Yes.
But today the report in the Herald says that the RTI information which is there before us says that this cabinet status was given within 24 hours, the decision. And
see, all of us who understand Goa and everybody, that means everybody, realize why this was done, why Mr. Pratap Singh Rane was given a lifetime status. As this very famous phrase in Hindi, which is linked to politics, is concerned, there is something called chronology samjhiye. That's become a very catch phrase, which was initially uttered by Amit Shah ji. That's his copyright. But if you look at that and look at this and you see the chronology, and if you see chronology samjhiye, you see Pratap Singh Rane was on the list, Congress list, for contesting the Puriya seat.
yeah.
His name was declared. Then his daughter's name was declared. Sorry, his daughter-in-law's name was declared from the same seat on a BJP ticket.
Yeah.
So it was going to be a very dramatic election on the cards, where the daughter-in-law, the bahu of the family, is taking on the veteran thespian father-in-law, and it called for a fantastic television and press, and we all kind of licking our lips probably to cover that battle. Suddenly, on the last moment, Pratap Singh Rane withdraws himself. The party withdraws himself, and people are on record. Both, I think, Mr. Dinesh Gundurao, the ICC desk in charge, in an interview to Herald, and he spoke to me, where he said that this was done at the insistence of Pratap Singh Rane. The Congress didn't want to withdraw the seat.
Yeah.
So obviously, the family put pressure on him to withdraw, so that his daughter has a free run and win by a huge number of votes, which finally happened. But immediately after Pratap Singh Rane withdrew his candidature, on the 6th the cabinet meets and decides to accord him, the BJP cabinet decides to accord a very senior congressman a lifetime cabinet status on the 6th of March. On the 7th of March, the decision is ratified and it is notified, and then on the same date, it is notified on the 7th and it is published in the official gazette on the 7th itself. So by 7th end of day, the gazette notification also comes out, all in a span of 24 hours. And why does this happen? Presumably because the code of conduct comes into play very conveniently on the 8th of March.
Yeah.
Very conveniently in the sense that not that the code of conduct conveniently came on that. Yeah. Code of conduct was already there. The decision where it was very conveniently done to bypass that code of conduct, it's as clear as daylight. There's no debate on this.
Yeah.
So yes, of course. But importantly, the RTI that was filed by the advocate Iris Rodrigues is important because this has a financial implication. There is nothing on record to show that the finance department's approval was taken for this. Of course, that document may well come up at some point of time. It's not difficult. But what we are essentially saying is that we don't know whether the financial approval was at least accorded or not. And because you do understand, viewers, that a lifetime cabinet status means that cabinets may come, cabinets may go, people may get elected, people may be in the cabinet, people may get dropped from the cabinet. Irrespective of which party, irrespective of which season, irrespective of whatever happens, Pratap Singh Rane till the last day that he is there on on this earth will be a cabinet minister, and that involves perks and privileges and a salary and car and staff and so on and so forth. Nobody grudges any of that if the state exchequer didn't have to pay for it, because it costs a lot of money. There's a payout every month.
Yeah.
So it is a right of every taxpayer to know why this is being done.
And this is possibly unprecedented. I don't know of any other.
It is absolutely unprecedented in my so many decades of following politics and governance. I have not come across this ever at all. It's unprecedented by a huge mile.
Okay. Yeah. And the last story we pick up is from 18th of March, that is today's Herald newspaper, and we at Herald TV also have pursued these stories. And this is also a major story that we are pursuing, like Pisudle, is the Mopa Link Road imbroglio, where there has been devastations of plantations and livelihoods of people. And this is a trend that we are seeing in various places, and especially this is unleashed against the poor people who depend on the land for their livelihoods.
Yes.
And just yesterday we came to know that they have even destroyed a spring which has been the source of livelihood and water for generations.
Yes. Yeah, I'll just get into that. If you all can bear with me for 2 seconds, I'll just dig up some stats that I've got with me, which actually show you the extent of the destruction. So as I was saying, see, before I get into this, as this is opening up, I'd like to put a few things in perspective. You see, the Mopa Link Road is not part of the Mopa airport per se.
Yeah.
It is a road which is being built to facilitate the movement to Mopa. Okay. Now, what has happened is, when this particular link road was being built, what is important here is that were the required permissions taken. Now, in any situation like this, you must understand that firstly, only a small portion of the land was forest land. Okay, and forest clearances were given for it, which means that the forest department would be given land in another village. They were actually given land in Tuhe village, and afforestation would happen there. So those guys forest got settled. But you do understand, the large portion of that area belonged to private people.
Yeah.
Okay, and any kind of acquisition that you do, it comes under different acts, and one is, of course, this whole Right to Fair Compensation Act. Now, the Right to Fair Compensation Act is extremely important, where compensation has to be given properly, and also there are other clauses that need to be followed. Most importantly, then there needs to be a proper detailed public hearing. Notice of that public hearing has to be given in both languages. It could be in English, but it has to be in a local language understood in that area. After that notice, there has to be a proper public hearing where people's voices have to be heard, because ultimately you are acquiring that land.
Yeah.
There is nothing on record to show that these things happened in the manner that they should be. See, the issue is, it's about 2.89 hectares of private forest land has been taken, okay, for the construction of the approach road. So the issue, and this is in the village of Dhargalim in Perne. So I was looking for this figure, 2.89 hectares. Now, out of this, some of it is forest, rest of it is private. Now, when you are taking away land of the people,
yeah,
you need to ensure that you have a proper public hearing and listen to them and ask them, take the hearings on board, do a proper economic impact assessment, and then do it.
Yeah.
What has happened is that they've literally bulldozed, thinking that the poor tribals would not have a voice.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, what you've also done is, you must understand that the entire area is full of very ancient cashew trees and a lot of other vegetation.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of it belongs to forests, some of it belongs to private people, some of it might belong to either the comunidad or others, public land. Irrespective of who had the ownership, for generations these people lived off these forests.
Yeah.
All these people lived off the cashew trees, the fruit and the juice, everything was used for their benefit. in the sense that they had their entire commercial activity and their lives revolved around these trees.
And the children's education also was dependent on this.
Dependent on this because whatever money they got, they spent for the school fees and all that. So,
Yeah.
so the issue is that there was a ecosystem and the people fed off the ecosystem. You cannot destroy a people's ecosystem in this kind of a brutal manner on the basis of the fact that yes, we've got all the permissions. Even those need to be challenged. Point number one. Point number two. When the bulldozers came in and when the road was getting built, the people went to the court. There are 3 petitions pending in the High Court asking them to first stop, hear them. And while this is going on, see, you cannot have a petition pending in court. The court obviously takes its own time.
Yeah.
While the petition is in court, during that period, there is no stoppage. There should have been at least a temporary stay granted for for actual justice to happen. So while they're waiting for justice, what they want to actually stop is not getting stopped. So justice is getting denied to them on every day. So later on, irrespective of what the court decides, doesn't kind of really give them any relief because destruction is happening here and now.
Yeah.
And as we see now, the road has been completely leveled. It has been raised to the vegetation has been raised to the ground, and the road is being built. And in the process of doing that, one of the most ancient springs have been filled with mud. Now, in that area, that spring was the source of their water.
Yeah.
So you're stopping the villagers' water source. You're stopping the villagers' earning source. You're actually choking them, and your legal remedies are not happening on time.
Yeah.
This is the state of affairs in Goa, and we really hope a humane government looks at this in a humane manner, because everything can't be according to the letter of the law. There's something called the spirit of the law, and there's something called governance which is linked to people's needs. There has to be some empathy for the people, and I think that empathy has been missing completely in this.
Yeah. And even the panchayat stay which was given on the work order, that has been not granted, that has been overruled.
On the grounds that this is a national project, and the panchayat's stay order means absolutely nothing. Yeah. So again, what we are essentially saying is these are legal arguments. Yeah. You can argue them in the court of law, but when there are people involved, you have to be humane. You have to be empathetic. Mm-hmm. We are only saying that everything cannot be seen through the prism of only the sections of the law. Even those can be challenged. I'm not saying they are okay there as well. Yeah. But while you are doing so, have some kind of a humanity, or at least stop the work till it is settled. At least do that much, and that's not happening.
Yeah. So the new government which will come into office will have plenty much on its plate.
Yes.
And starting with the Mopa Link Road, and the people who are affected, they have to get their fingers into the soil and start work, which is supposed to be a people-friendly government. I'm afraid that we have run out of time. That's all we have for you on the week that was. I thank my guest, our group editor, Mr. Sujay Gupta, for his insights and very provoking thoughts on these issues that we have discussed today. Thank you for watching Herald TV.